Well, we are going to speak about games you lose, how to recover from that games, how to learn from that games. Specifically, we are going to speak mostly about my games and some different factors that made me lose games. And I divided the subjects in five. There is five different things that made me lose games in general in the last 10 years. And well, the first one is the opening preparation. Sometimes just the opening went very wrong. I made a bad preparation at home or during the tournament. My opponent surprised me and created a lot of problems from this moment. And this was the main factor of losing this game. For example, it happened in a game that we will see with Levon Aronian, for example, where he played the bishop d6. That was a complete surprise for me, and after that was very difficult for me, and I didn't manage to come back into the game. Second subject is when you play a horrible game. It's going to happen sometimes. I mean, sometimes you're just going to play a bad game, and well, you need to know that there is a percentage of games that you're just going to play bad. You have a bad day for some reason, and the important thing there is to know that well, it doesn't matter so much. Focus on the next game. Everyone had such a problem at some point, so just we are humans, and just don't care too much about it. Just keep moving, keep going forward. On the third, there is when your opponent just plays a very good game. I'll show, for example, a game with Veselin Topalov, where I lost during an Olympiad with him. I played a great Olympiad actually in this tournament. I've only lost to him, and he just played an amazing game. What can I do? I mean, I've got a little bit worse position in the opening, but then at some point after I got a little bit difficult position, I defended very well, like 10, 15 great moves, defensive moves in a difficult position. Normally that would be enough to save the game, but in this case it wasn't. He was very inspired, he played a great game. What to do? It's a normal thing, it's going to happen sometimes, and also I'm actually relatively proud of this game, even if I lost. So it's not a big deal. Fourth, and one of the most important chapters, is time travel. It's a way to lose a game. Well, you can lose on time, first of all. And second, and mostly it's going to happen that you will have not much time to make your decisions. And this will make you make a big mistake or some little mistakes, inaccuracies that can change the game. And this is going to be a very important episode of our trip over these games. And the fifth is when you just make a blunder. This is a very specific thing in chess. It doesn't happen on any other sports. Sometimes, mostly it doesn't happen. Let's say you play a tennis game and you need to make lots of mistakes. In chess, sometimes one mistake is enough. And well, happens like this. What to do? It's you just need to keep moving. And we're going to see some games where I just blundered, and that's all. It's one and last mistake. And in general, that's all. And I think we will all learn. I hope to learn myself, because there are some patterns of mistakes that I've been doing over these last 10 years. So there are things that I can, with this video, I hope to improve myself, and on the way that you can improve yourselves too. Thank you. We're going to speak about opening preparation. It's the start of the game, so it's one of the most important phases in the game, maybe the most important. And we will see that sometimes a bad opening preparation is going to change completely the outcome of the game. Some losses I had, it was basically because of this, because of bad preparation. We'll see a game with Levon Aronian, for example, with a very important novelty. That it was a novelty for me, but actually there was some games about some bishop d6 move, very interesting. And after that I couldn't recover. And we will try to fix that, and we will try to see how your opponents can try to surprise you, and to be prepared for that, and not to make such a big mistakes on the preparation at home, actually, because then over the board it's going to be very difficult to come back if you are not prepared. We're going to watch now a game against Peter Leko. I was white, and it was a during 2006 in the Super GM tournament. Well, Peter Leko, everybody knows him. He's a very solid Hungarian grandmaster. He was in top 10 for many, many years. And for this game, I have decided to play d4 on the first move. And this was maybe an interesting decision because when in my childhood I used to play just e4 normally, but then slowly I started to play a little bit of everything: d4, c4, also knight f3, and I was switching to make my opponent's preparation more difficult. But on the other hand, when you play a stronger opponent, which was the case now, you should be very careful how you choose your openings, because sometimes it can backfire. It can come back to you, and you can go into a very risky position. And if your opponent is better prepared than you, try to play solid. I think this is a very important thing, to play solid when your opponent is better prepared. So in this game I didn't follow this advice and I played quite risky. Let's see how it happened. Played d4, knight f6, c4, and e6 here he played. This is one of his main moves, but he also used to play g6 sometimes, with the idea to play Grunfeld. So probably I prepared both. So it's a little bit difficult when you have to prepare for different lines, and sometimes you can easily miss something in the preparation if you have to focus on too many different things. So, well, after e6, for this game, I was trying to play a hyper-aggressive line. It was knight c3, bishop b4 is a Nimzo-Indian. Queen c2 is a very classical move. Leko go for the most classical as well, is castle, short castle. And then I played e4. And, this is a very aggressive line. Of course, now white is having a very strong center. The queen in c2 is protecting e4. And, white is trying to develop his pieces, something like bishop d3 and knight g2, and then short castle. This is an ideal setup, and then white will be better because the strong center is very good. But here it's you're a little bit exposed. As you can see, black is already with a very safe king on g8, and white's king still on e1. So this makes sense to understand why his next move. He played d5. The other interesting move here is d6. But this seems to me like not so critical move, because now white slowly can improve his pieces and the center might give him a little edge. So d5 makes full sense to me. It's a very critical move just to open the center while white's king is still in danger on e1. So after d5, but this is of course is still preparation, I played e5. Knight e4 is the only move. Other moves are a little bit stupid, because now the knight on d7 is going to be just very passive. And also when bishop d3 will come at some point, it will attack on h7, winning a tempo, so it's going to be very easy for white. So knight e4, bishop d3. Bishop d3 is another move, still possible, and it might even transpose sometimes, but bishop d3 c5 is quite similar. This line nowadays is supposed to give a draw, but it's very sharp and it's very complicated. So for this game I prepared a3 first. Bishop takes c3, it's normal. B takes c3, c5, and now bishop d3. Well, this position, it's still very unclear. I mean, white is trying to create some problems with the knight on e4. Still, the idea is the same, to play knight e2 and castle, and maybe now in the future to chase away the knight, because on e4 can have some trouble. But on the other hand, the lack of development is going to be a problem. Now there is a few interesting moves. He played queen a5, which looks very interesting, attacking c3 and creating a threat of taking just on d4 for free because of the pin. The king on e1 is still in danger. The game went on with knight e2, c takes d4. I think still here I was in my preparation, so I was relatively happy. C takes d5, e takes d5. This is still normal. Now if, for example, white would take on d4, then black has no problems. It has many different moves that are interesting. For example, knight d7 will attack e5 and also will prepare to jump on c5 if it's possible. So the game went f3, attacking the knight. Knight c3, it's normal. Knight d4, I was still in preparation here. As I said, it's a very sharp line. White has some decent compensation here. We have two bishops, which are very strong normally when the game is open, which is the case. But on the other hand, we lost a pawn with white. So, well, it's still very unclear position, but let's see how Leko handled this position, because he totally outprepared me here, and he played a very interesting idea. Knight e4 check. I move my king. I'm not sure I knew already this, but there is a move king e2 which I played, or there is another move king f1, which seems to me a little bit interesting, but I wouldn't say it makes such a big difference. This is still the same idea with like with Leko, what Leko played afterwards. Anyway, I played king e2, and now this came as a huge surprise to me. Suddenly, white's position requires an incredible accuracy to try to save the game. It's very difficult to play here with white. And, well, we'll see what happened. But the main idea of this move, of course, is that after fe4, the white's king on e2 is going to have big trouble, because bishop g4 is coming and it's almost mating me on e2. So this is basically winning for black, and this makes fe4 impossible by now. And now after f5, if you cannot take the knight on e4, basically all your ideas are over. So like it's like black's last move killed two of the main ideas of white. First of all, now the knight on e4 is untouchable, and second, h7, which was sometimes in trouble because of the bishop on d3, now it's also untouchable. And well, here I started to think a lot, because I really didn't feel comfortable with my position. I realized suddenly black's position seems much easier to play. He wants just to develop with knight c6, maybe bishop d7, to bring some rook to the c file, to attack the queen on c2. And I didn't really know what to do with white, because if I cannot take the knight on e4, it's like suddenly there is no plan. I played bishop e3, which seems like a natural move, but maybe it's not the best. Computer nowadays suggests to play something like e6, but this seems to me like a very unnatural move. There is lines a little bit crazy, like knight c6, knight c6, b takes c6, e7. This is very much like a computer line. I mean, humans normally we don't play like this, but look at this. rook e8, queen c6, rook e7, and this seems like extremely dangerous for white's king on e2, but after queen a8, knight g3 check, king d1, only move, and it might end up in a draw, but well, it's hard to play like this in a serious game, actually, in a long game. And your opponent is blitzing the moves. He knows everything, or he is at least much better prepared than you. And you go into this very sharp line trying to create some artificial draw. It's very hard to do it, really. It's very hard. So I played bishop e3, which seems to be like a natural move to me. Just protecting the knight on d4, and I connect my rooks now. And maybe at some point I will escape with my king from e2. But he played a very nice move here, knight c6. It seems like a pawn sacrifice, but in fact it's hard to take that pawn. Let's see, for example, well, knight c6 was played. Well, black is threatening now to take on e5 if nothing happens. So I have to do something, and taking on c6 looks normal. B takes c6, and now if I would take queen c6, the problem is like black can simply develop the rook b8, and this rook is threatening to come to b2 with very nasty ideas against my king on e2. And the problem here for white is that after rook b1, then there is a check on c3. Knight c3 check, it will be a double. So rook a b1 doesn't work. And it's hard to protect actually rook b2. And let's say if I come back with a queen to c2, now simply something like bishop e6, and just bringing the rook to c8, and the initiative is just huge for black. It's probably just winning position already. So, well, this wasn't really possible. Queen c6 was a bad move. And, well, the move I played here, I think it's correct. I played rook hc1. As I said, I'm dreaming about bringing my king to g1. If I manage to bring my king to g1, then the knight on e4 will be in trouble, because there is no square for this knight. Everything is covered. He cannot go back to d6 or f6. He cannot go to g5 or c5. So basically, he's resisting on e4 because of these tactical tricks against my king. But if I manage to escape, then everything will be difficult for black. And here, he plays rook b8. And I remember I stopped here. And I stopped, I thought, for a long time again. And I don't know what really went wrong for me, because of course my main idea was to play king f1. But I started to calculate, and suddenly I didn't like it. And I played king d1, but this looks like a much worse move. Sometimes actually this is a funny when you have a position you don't like, you start to calculate one move, the main move that you think is the best, and afterwards you don't like the lines that are coming, and you change your move. You try to play something else because you didn't like what you were thinking about. But what you played was actually worse than what you were calculating before. And this was actually absolutely the case. I mean, I played king d1, which looks to me like a terrible move right now. I mean, why on earth would it be better to have the king on d1 than on f1 and to go to g1? Well, the problem going with king f1 was that after f4, it was hard to find a move here. And well, I mean, but even if I would play bishop f2, knight f2, and now something like king f2, black is better. He has a pawn up, but I think white can fight here because c6 is hanging, my king will be safe at some point, and h7 is hanging as well, and white has some chances to save the game here. And even there is a move bishop e4, which is very interesting, and of course very dangerous for white, but still quite unclear. I don't know, for example, if d takes e4, bishop c5, and well, it's an interesting position here. It's not that bad for white. And the king at some point will escape. I mean, it makes sense for white. I mean, what to do? If your position is not so great, but at least you'll escape with the king and something. You have some chances to save the game here. But instead of that, I didn't like it. This after f4. Bishop e4, also there is f e3. Bishop h7, king h8. And well, it's also a little dangerous for white again, because bishop d3 back, and now this pawn on e5 is kind of very weak, for example, with a move like d4. And white is a little bit in trouble, but you need to compare this position, which looks shaky for white, with this one, with this other one. After rook b8, king d1, which is what happened in the game. And here, well, he played a very strong move. Maybe I missed that move. But it's not the only strong move, actually. There are a couple of moves at least that are strong. Let's say, for example, a move like d4, which looks super logical to me. Now, well, black is threatening to take the bishop on e3, but apart from that, bishop e6 is coming with the threat of bishop b3, for example. And if bishop d4, now rook d8, and well, you can see the difference between having the king on d1 and having the king on f1. I think it's just much safer to have the king on f1. He played not d4 but rook d8, which is also a very logical move. It's a very typical. Now, just well, with X-ray, you are threatening my king on d1. You stop f e4 because d4 now will take back the piece with tremendous consequences for white. And well, it seems pretty simple to play with black here. I've played bishop d4. Well, this is a little bit, I don't know, it's a little bit of desperation, but still, I mean, what to do? It's the bishop is controlling c3. Maybe I had the idea that after rook b1, white is losing, because after rook b1, for example, rook b1, knight c3, this is killing. This double attack, king and rook, is killing. So after bishop d4, there might be the idea of playing some rook b1 at some point. But it seems a little bit slow to me. I mean, it obviously seems a little bit slow. And well, Leko played bishop e6. And there was a beautiful move here, rook b3, which is, well, it's a high-class move. It's a computer move that well, it's probably very strong. The idea is that after queen b3, queen d2 is mate. And if f e4, now there is a move that is very easy to miss for anyone that is not a computer, is queen a4. And this is so complicated. You cannot blame Leko for missing this, or even me. I mean, it's just a huge idea, and it's even hard to calculate that this move now, the rook is threatening to take on d3, and also the possibility to take on e4 at some point and open the d file makes this position winning for black. But on the other hand, it's who's going to play like this? And he doesn't need to play so risky, because black's position is already so good that he doesn't really need to take that risk. So another move which is very logical is c5. I'm sure he considered this. But he thought just bishop e6 should be enough to have a big advantage. And so he played bishop e6, which is a natural move, developing the bishop. And now this bishop at some point can try to come to b3 and pin the queen and the king. So I played rook a b1, which was the idea of bishop d4. Still, king e2 was probably the best move here, trying to escape from the king on d1, which is a very bad square. But it's hard to play such a move. I played 2 moves ago, I played king d1. It's very hard to come back now to e2. So I played rook a b1, rook b1, rook b1, and he played c5. And we went into some deep line that, well, it favors black, but you'll see if you keep fighting in the game, sometimes your opponent is going to give you a chance. So I played rook b5, queen a3 looks normal, bishop b2 attacking the queen, queen a2. Here, well, black's position is probably already winning because he has 2 extra pawns in the center, still cannot take the knight on e4, and well, there is not much to do. But I played bishop e2, well, trying to take the knight on e4, and now here Leko could have probably killed the game with some strange tricks like d4, fe4, d3, bishop d3, and fe4, and white's position is falling apart. It's just very bad for white here. But, well, he wanted once more to play safe, and still a good move. He played bishop d7. Good enough. He's managing the game without much risk so far, and just going for the easiest way, which is actually a very good idea in general. If you have some advantage, you don't have to make things complicated. If you can play it safe, play it simple, keep it like this. So bishop d7, fe4, and now he played bishop b5. There was another move, a6, which was probably stronger. And actually, well, it looks quite interesting, yes, because now black is taking on b5, and if I escape with the rook, then bishop a4 is destroying my position. So maybe a6 was just stronger, simply stronger. I think he went a bit too far with this, trying to make things easier, and he played just take, rook b8. Okay, it's a problem now for white because both bishops are in trouble. But I managed to find here an idea. Bishop c6, queen b2, because now bishop d5 is coming. So queen b2, bishop d5 check, king h8. Well, now black is threatening to take on e5, so we need to change queens on b2, rook b2, ef5, and this position is probably winning for black and probably shouldn't be much of a problem to win, but well, it's never that easy sometimes. And what happened here is that he was probably a bit relaxed because the game was so easy for him that he actually gave me some chances to save the game. So after ef5, rook b4, king c2, rook d4 is actually a mistake probably. He had to play rook f4 first, but this is hard to find because after g4 you cannot take the pawn on g4 because e6 is going to make impossible to stop this pawn. So let's say you try to go from behind like rook g1, e7, rook e1, there is bishop e6, and white wins because the line is blocked. But not rook g4, but rook d4 first. this was very precise. And after bishop f7, now black can take the pawn, and if e6, simply rook e4, king d3, rook e5, and it's basically impossible to attack the rook on e5, and the rook is controlling the only question of the position, which is to advance the pawn. After, for example, king c4, just to play a6, and white's king has no way to go inside like c6 or d6, which will be very dangerous places, but now it's not possible to improve the position. But Peter was a little bit relaxed, probably. He played rook d4. I went bishop f7. And, well, now the problem of black's position is that the king on h8 is really bad. And, of course, he understood that. And he now went rook e4, e6. And he played a very important move here. He played h5, which is giving a tempo, is giving a pawn, but he wants at any cost to go out with the king and to bring the king to f6. If the king comes to f6, then black will be completely winning because the pawns will be under control, and then you can use your c and a passed pawns with black. And here I made a last mistake. Probably I was still feeling like I had no chance during the game, but actually I could create some big trouble for him. I could play king d3, attacking the rook. Well, rook e5 will come. Now king c4, trying to get to b5, c6 and d6, so he has to probably to stop the king with a6, as we saw before. And now, very interesting and very difficult probably to find, and this is probably what I have missed, is to play g3. King h7 and now h4. And the problem is that it's very hard for black to get out now, because this way, king h6, king g5, king f6 is not possible anymore, because the pawn on h4 is controlling the position, and it's very hard to create anything with black here, because you cannot take the pawn on f5 because of e7. You cannot bring the king. The best chance for black is to just play back king h8. But now, after bishop h5, it's very hard. Maybe it's a draw already. King g8, g4, king f8, bishop g6. It's a very good move. And now the pawns are coming, and it's very close to a draw. Maybe it's a draw here. So it's a pity that I missed this chance, because I was so close still to save this game. So after h5, I took bishop h5, and now it's over. It's very easy, because now king g8, g4, king f8, g5, king e7. Well, I played h3, a5, and now just the black pawns are, with the rook, are creating too many troubles for white and just winning the game. Well, as you could see in this game, I mean, I was totally outplayed in the opening, and this was so important during the game. I had my little chance to come back and maybe to make a draw. But first of all, I spent a lot of time in the opening. Second, I felt tired, I felt bad and uncomfortable about my position. And this was mostly provoked by a bad opening preparation. I had a bit of trouble after that. But still, you need to be tougher and to keep searching for chances. There are players like, let's say, Karyakin, who, even if they get a bad position, they keep fighting till the end. If they had a good position or a bad position, they just don't care. They try to fight till the end. And here I was a little bit weak, I would say. I got out prepared, but still I had a very good chance here in the end, and it wasn't so difficult to try to find this move. After h5, king d3, and then king c4, and it's pretty simple to... I couldn't be sure if you saved the game, but it looks very logical to me. And why not to do that? It's a pity that I was probably feeling already lost, and I was feeling bad about my previous moves, but well, who cares? You just need to keep moving on. So, well, we'll learn from that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.